My name is Lisa. I am 50 years old. 10 years ago, I was married. My husband, James, and I had a happy life. We met on a bus. People say, good girls don't talk to strangers. But we talked. We liked each other. We dated for a year, then we got married. When we married, I was young, happy, and beautiful. I always wanted to lose weight, but I wasn't fat. James always said, stop your diets. You don't need them. He cared about me, but I didn't understand it then. James was a simple man. He didn't bring me flowers every day. He didn't often bring me coffee in bed. Once he did, but it spilled on my dress. I asked him not to do it again. James loved me in his own way. He went to work every day. He called me from work and said, Lisa, wear warm clothes. It's cold today. We had 2 sons. James taught them to respect me. At first, James worked as a builder. Then he became a manager. Later, he started his own company. We built a house outside the city. James told me not to work. He said, take care of the house and the garden. I planted flowers. I grew fruits and vegetables. Our sons grew up. They got married. Soon, we had a granddaughter. Her name was Emma. James loved Emma very much. One day, our older son said he would bring Emma to visit us. But James said, I can't. I will work this weekend. I was surprised. I asked, why can't you come home in the evening? James said, maybe I will stay at my father's house. His words worried me. Something felt wrong. The next day, I drove to James's office. I didn't see him there. The security guard said, he is not here. Then I heard the guard's wife whisper, poor woman. Everyone knows, but she doesn't. I felt cold. I called James. I said, we need to talk. James came home. I asked, do you have another woman? James said, yes. I asked, will you leave or should I leave? James said, I will leave. He packed his things and left. My world fell apart. I cried. I felt alone. My sons came to see me. They hugged me. They listened to my story. I told them, your father left me, but he is still your father. Respect him. Days passed. I felt empty. Nights were the hardest. I couldn't sleep. I lost weight. I didn't smile. One day my friend Mary came. She said, Lisa, come with me. Mary took me to a children's hospital. The children there had cancer. They were very sick, yet they smiled. Their mother stayed with them, caring for them. Mary said, Lisa, look at these women. They have real problems. Your problems are small. Their mothers stayed by their sides, caring for them with love and strength. Mary turned to me and said, Lisa, look at these women. They have real problems. Your pain is deep, but compared to theirs, it's small. That day, something changed in me. I decided to stop drowning in my sadness and start helping others. I found sponsors to pay for the children's treatments. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. 10 years passed. It was Women's Day. I waited for my sons to visit. Then the door opened. It was James. He stood in the doorway, looking older, tired, almost fragile. His voice was quiet. Lisa, can I stay here? I took a deep breath. This is your house too. James sat down, his hands folded in his lap. I'm sorry, he whispered. Please forgive me. I didn't know what to say. Later, Mary told me the truth. James's new wife left him. She lied to him. The child he raised wasn't his. And now he was here, alone, broken. I kept asking myself, what should I do? Can I forgive him? Can I forget the pain? James stayed in the guest room. He was quiet. I didn't know what he was thinking. And honestly, I didn't know what I was feeling either. That evening, I cooked dinner. James sat at the table. He inhaled deeply and said, "The food smells good, Lisa." I didn't respond. I just placed the plates in front of him. As we ate, he said, "I missed your cooking. No one cooks like you." For a moment, I almost smiled, but I didn't. I simply said, "You made your choice, James." After dinner, I washed the dishes. James tried to help, but I shook my head. "I can do it," I said. The next day, my sons came to visit. They walked in and froze. "Dad?" Peter's voice was filled with disbelief. "What are you doing here?" James lowered his eyes. "I made a mistake. I hurt your mother. Now I want to fix it." Peter turned to me. "Mom, are you okay with this?" I sighed. "I don't know yet." Peter and Mark pulled me aside. "Mom," Mark said softly, "you don't have to let him stay. We can take care of you." I smiled at them. "I need time to think." That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. James had hurt me deeply, but he had also been a good father. He worked hard for our family. He loved our sons. I asked myself, can people really change? Can I trust him again? The next morning I looked out the window. James was in the garden fixing the fence. He looked older, slower, but he was working hard. I stepped outside. "James, you don't have to do this." He wiped his forehead. "I want to help. This is still my family." I didn't say anything. I just turned and walked back inside. A few days later, Emma came to visit. She spotted James and her face lit up. She ran straight to him, throwing her little arms around him. "Grandpa!" she squealed. James smiled, the first real smile I had seen on his face in years. Emma turned to me. "Grandma, Grandpa said he missed me. Can we all go to the park together?" I hesitated. But Emma tugged at my hand. "Please, Grandma, it'll be fun." We went to the park. Emma played on the swings, laughing. James and I sat on a bench. He glanced at me. "Thank you for letting me come back, Lisa." I kept my eyes on Emma. "I haven't decided yet, James." James nodded. "I understand. Take your time. I'll wait." Days turned into weeks. James stayed in the guest room. He fixed things around the house. He helped in the garden. One day, Mary visited. She studied my face. "Lisa, are you okay with James being here?" I sighed. "I don't know. I feel angry, but I also feel sorry for him." Mary squeezed my hand. "You don't have to forgive him right away. But maybe this is a chance for both of you to heal." That night, I thought about Mary's words. Maybe she was right. The next morning, I made breakfast. For the first time since he returned, I called James to the table. He sat down looking nervous. I took a deep breath. "James, let's talk." He nodded. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I admitted, "but I want to try." James's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Lisa. I will do everything to make it right." And so we started again. We talked about the past. James apologized, over and over. One day I told him, "James, I will forgive you, but it will take time. You have to prove that you've changed." He nodded. "I will, Lisa. I promise." Over time, things got better. We started laughing again. We became friends. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know this. Forgiveness is not easy. It takes time, love, and patience. Maybe one day our family will feel whole again. Weeks passed, then months. James remained in the guest room, quietly going about his days. He fixed things around the house, tended the garden, and played with Emma whenever she visited. He never asked for anything in return. He never pushed me for an answer. One evening I stood by the window, watching him repair an old wooden chair on the porch. His hands, once strong and steady, moved slower now. He looked tired, worn out by the years and his own mistakes. I sighed. Was it enough? Could I truly forgive him? Facing the past. One Sunday, Peter and Mark came over for dinner. James sat at the table, quiet but present. He didn't expect to be served, didn't assume he belonged. He simply waited. As I placed a plate in front of him, Mark spoke. "Mum, is this permanent? Is Dad staying?" I hesitated, then answered honestly. "I don't know yet." Peter leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "I still don't trust him." James looked down. "I understand." Peter shook his head. "No, Dad, I don't think you do. You hurt Mum. You broke our family. And now, you just want to come back like nothing happened?" James met his eyes. I want to come back because I made the biggest mistake of my life. And I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'll spend the rest of my days trying to earn it." Silence filled the room. Then Mark sighed. "Dad, we don't hate you. But this isn't just about Mum. It's about all of us." James nodded. "I know." Peter's voice softened. "Mum, are you happy with him here?" I looked at James, then at my sons. "I don't know if I'll ever forget what happened, but I do know that I don't want to spend the rest of my life hating him." A step forward, that night, as I washed the dishes, James stood by the door. "Lisa," he said hesitantly. I turned. "Yes?" He swallowed. I found an apartment in the city. I think it's time I move out." For a moment, I was speechless. I had expected him to stay longer. "Why?" I asked. James gave me a sad smile. "Because you still don't know if you want me here, and I don't want to be a burden." I stared at him. I had spent years waiting for this moment, for him to walk away, to give me space. But now, as I looked at him, I felt something unexpected. Regret. Did I really want him to go? I didn't answer right away. Instead, I wiped my hands on a towel and sat down. James hesitated, then joined me. "I'm not saying I want you to stay," I began carefully. "But I don't think I want you to leave either." His eyes widened slightly. "What do you mean?" I sighed. "I mean, I think we still have things to figure out. And maybe we're not done yet." James sat back, relief washing over his face. "I'll wait, Lisa, as long as it takes." Moving forward, the weeks turned into months. Slowly, things started to shift. We took small steps. James remained in the guest room, but we spoke more often. He still helped around the house. But now I found myself making him a cup of coffee in the mornings. One afternoon, I caught myself laughing at one of his old jokes. It wasn't love. Not yet. But it was something. One evening, as we sat outside watching the sunset, James spoke. "Lisa, if I could go back in time, I would never have left." I turned to him. "But you did." He nodded. "I know. And I will never stop regretting it." For the first time in a long time, I reached for his hand. "I don't know what the future holds, James, but I'm willing to see where this goes." James squeezed my hand gently. And for the first time, I felt that maybe, just maybe, he had truly changed. What happens next? Would Lisa and James find love again? Could trust ever be rebuilt? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain. Forgiveness was not a single act, but a journey. And they were finally walking it together. Would you give James another chance? Or should Lisa move on completely? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please like and share. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about love, loss, and second chances.